Hi, thank you for joining our new show at ThePrint, where every week we'll be unpacking the top international or national security issue of the week. I will be in each of these programs talking to a print reporter who's covered events on the ground and a leading expert. And today we have Ananya Bhardwaj, who spent the last several days trampling through the mud and the keychair of the mountains in Kashmir, and General D.S. Huda, who many of you will know from other articles and shows. He was commander of the Northern Army and knows Kashmir perhaps as well as anyone else, if not better, in the country. So, Ananya, I'll kick off by first asking you, you were present at the famous rally the Union Home Minister just gave a few days ago in Baramulla, where, among other things, he said that India will not talk to Pakistan, but will talk about Kashmir only with Kashmiris.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the mood and ambience at the rally, whether people were enthusiastic, what you saw there?
In fact, locals were quite surprised in Srinagar that how they were able to gather so much crowd, because it has never happened in Kashmir before that a union minister, and especially he's from BJP, has come and has been able to manage so much crowd. So, of course, there were people from the department also. There were policemen and civils also. There were, in fact, 2 days before the rally, they had issued verbal orders to all people to join, and there were buses that got all the people from the department, whether it's the health department or other departments of J&K, to that rally. But besides that, a lot of locals from Baramulla and a lot of Pahadis from all the areas. In fact, I spoke to some intelligence people, and they had categorically told me that apart from all these people from the department, this rally actually was able to gather a lot of crowd of the locals. So even people from local Baramulla areas, I don't know if it was, if they were curious about what the Home Minister will say or what, but there was crowd. I mean, there were about 20,000 odd people at that rally. And I was told that this has happened for the first time, that Home Minister started the rally by saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and everybody was cheering. But the center stage was, of course, taken by the Pahari community in the area, because just a day before the rally in Kashmir and Jammu, he had already announced ST status reservations for Pahari communities. So they were all there celebrating. There were dhols, there were basaris, they were dancing. Although, again, it wasn't still clear in the speech, he didn't make it clear whether an ST status will be granted to them or how are they going to go about these reservations. But of course, people were very happy, because the Pahadis said that they had been waiting for this decision for years. It had been pending for almost decades now. And after Home Minister Amit Shah mentioned it in his speech in Jammu, they were quite elated.
I'll come back to the Pakistan question in a second, but General Huda, while you were Northern Army commander, you've done a great deal of work to reach out to the Gujjar community. And there are some voices in the Gujjar community who say today that they feel a little let down. I even had someone tell me that we feel we are being punished for having sided with India. Can you explain a little bit of the context about the Gujjar community? And why they are, important to India in Jammu and Kashmir?
So, Praveen, as you've also extensively written about it, when you were the front line, I read a lot of your articles on the Gujar Bakarwal community. So, I'll talk about the Gujar Bakarwal community, although they're distinct, but they are the ones who had this ST status. That's one community, Praveen, that is actually always sided with, the nationalistic viewpoint. They've sided with India. There have been stories in the past of how people had come back from abroad, Saudi Arabia, etc., to actually come back and fight foreign terrorists who had infiltrated into the Jammu region. The first village defense committee, Muslim defense community, was raised there. The first women VDC, village defense committee, was also raised among the Gujar Bakarwal community. In Hill Kaka, they helped out a lot in the army operation. So that's one community. But however, they, as you said, they've always felt that maybe they didn't get enough sort of credit. They weren't given enough assistance by the government in terms of infrastructure development, schools, assistance to the Bakarwal community when they travel from the Jammu region to Kashmir, even right up to Kargil. in Ladakh region. But that's one community I think, and I've also written about that, that this is one community that we should not forget, because they are the ones who've actually stood up, being Muslims in Jammu and Kashmir, they have stood up with the Indian government. And in some ways, I feel it was the support of this local Gujar Bakarwal community that helped us actually push back terrorism from Jammu region.
So, if I may, this sort of division over reservations and over, who should get how much of the pie. If you were advising the government on how to handle these conflicting claims, because Pahadis are also a very poor and underprivileged community, also Muslims within the Pahadis, I should make clear for our viewers, there are Hindus of the upper caste, there are Hindus of the lower caste, there are Muslims, even some Sikhs among the Pahadi community. How would you balance out these claims? Because I know as Northern Army commander, you must have faced a lot of pushing and pulling from the different groups to try and get whatever. If you were advising the government today, what would your suggestion be on how to balance this?
So, Praveen, two things. One is, as you mentioned, particularly in the Jammu region, the Pahadis, the Gujar, the Bakarwals are all living in the same area. So they're all intermingled. And as you also pointed out, economically, it's difficult to say, except maybe the Bakarwals, because of their nomadic lifestyle, are slightly backward. But the others, enjoy sort of similar financial status, if I may say. So yes, the Pahadis also need some assistance and some help in that area. Uh, as long as, and this is one complaint that the Gujar Bakarwal, that as long as their rights are not being taken away or there is no division of reservation, they would be happy. But more important, Praveen, is how to empower these people. So while you might say that these people have so much percentage of reservation, at least among the Bakarwals, the complaint always was we cannot utilize it because education standards, the way they live. So I think more than just granting reservation, the empowerment of the people, so that they can sort of achieve political rights, economic rights. I mean, those are things I think where a greater empowerment is required.
In fact, for our viewers, again, Ananya had a fantastic report from the ground on the Gujar community, where one of the touching things you've noted is that despite reservations, the school teachers who were supposed to come and work with these nomadic kids, for 6 months, the teacher had not been coming. So much for, getting a job or whatever. But I wanted to go on to the issue, Ananya, which I'm sure our viewers will be very interested in. Home Minister saying, I'm not going to talk to Pakistan. How did the crowd react to this? Because one of the demands of all the Valley parties has been that we must talk to Pakistan and settle this issue. Right. How did people react?
So, Praveen, the kind of crowd there was, of course, they were cheering because he said that I will not talk to Pakistan, although my counterparts or my dost, he mentioned that word, and clearly referring to Ms. Mehbooba Mufti, because she has been in fact saying that we should have a dialogue with Pakistan, and she takes it back to the Vajpayee government and how he initiated that and how it helped. So he said that I'm not going to talk to Pakistan, and right after that he says I want to talk to the Awam of Kashmir, and that's how they rise in cheers and their claps and their hooting, etc. So of course, I mean they clearly cheered this bit, but then when I went to the ground, say to other regions of Kashmir, this statement was not very well received, because in fact they also believe that if there has to be some sort of a solution to this problem, there has to be a dialogue, and you can't just shut doors to Pakistan saying that we'll not have a dialogue. But again, it's Amit Shah, and he knows how to make these statements and get the crowd to cheer for it.
So, this debate in Indian policy on Kashmir, it seems to go in a cycle. Talk, won't talk, talk, won't talk. Seems to go round and round and round. In your view, we know there has been a back channel of various kinds operating. There have been, various contacts. The militaries have maintained a ceasefire on the line of control, which is very beneficial to India. Should we be engaging in a conversation with them? Should we not be doing it? Where does the wisdom lie?
So, Praveen, the wisdom lies, you should not rule out talks at all. I think the problem Praveen, today is what is the state of play in Pakistan, and will the talks sort of achieve any significant or even minor results? So, if you look at what is happening in Pakistan, the kind of political instability that is there, you've heard Imran Khan's statement saying, "Look, this government wants to start trade with India, and this is a betrayal." Then there is, the whole economic sort of crisis in Pakistan, the flood situation. I'm not sure, uh, even from the Pakistani side, there will be any sort of, attempt to move forward on relations with India. At least not till the next election. So, is there any sort of purpose in an outreach from Indian side which could just get sort of rejected? If you recall, the finance minister talked about when the floods took place that we are considering trade with India, and immediately the prime minister said no, there'll be no trade with India unless the position on August 2019 is reversed. So if you look at it in that context, I don't know politically whether at this stage any sort of purpose will be even solved by dialogue. And it's not only that, an outreach from our side. I don't think there is sort of, if I may use the word, stomach on the Pakistani side also to sort of engage with India at this stage.
If I may briefly interrupt, sir, a follow-on question from this in that case. Uh, Obviously, we had some kind of dialogue which led to this ceasefire on the line of control. The two militaries have found whatever way they have found to make that work reasonably successfully. The levels of violence in Kashmir have been going down for some time now. Do you feel that this might, because of the political instability in Pakistan, because of General Bajwa, who was a big figure in pushing some of these things, his retirement is due? Do you feel the situation might reverse in coming weeks, or the Pakistanis have their own reasons to keep things quiet?
So we don't know. I mean, so you can't say anything with any great surety. As you said, General Bajwa is also retiring, and he had been making sort of statements on improving ties with India, etc. But my own sense, Praveen, is that with the sort of internal problems that there are in Pakistan today, and I talked about the economic situation and the political instability, you're also seeing along the western border, Afghanistan border. The TTP in recent times has ramped up its attacks despite the ceasefire agreement that is there. So I think their own internal issues and internal troubles will perhaps keep a lid on. I don't think they'll want to sort of vitiate the atmosphere along the line of control or on the India-China border. But as I said, you don't know. But my own sense is that their own internal problems are going to weigh heavily on them.
Ananya, a final question for you before we wrap this up. I mean, one of the things in Kashmir is, on one hand, violence has gone down. People seem very keen, as you said, to participate in politics.
Yeah.
There were cheers when he said, I will talk to Kashmiris. At the same time, we seem to be seeing this steady trickle of young men joining one jihadi group or the other. That doesn't seem to be drying up completely. What was your sense of the mood among young Kashmiris as you traveled around?
So, Praveen, I always feel that in Kashmir, nothing is black and white. There's always a gray area. So there'll be people who'll tell you that things are much better and now we are able to open our shops, because for locals, this matters. Earlier, there were hartals and, shops will be shut. The business was affected. So now at least there's some sense of stability among the businessmen, the small businessmen in the areas, that at least the shops are open. We saw that the son-in-law of Mr. Gilani passed away and everything passed off smoothly. There was 1 year death anniversary of Gilani in September. There were no hartals. All the shops were open. So there was some sense of stability. But then again, there's a lot of, a lot of youngsters also say that there are no jobs. Whatever they promised on the ground that they'll bring, say jobs, reservations, development, there'll be projects, there is investment of 55,000 crores. So we don't see anything on the ground. On the other hand, there are still so many youngsters who have been booked under PSA and have been lodged in jails, not just in Kashmir but also in UP. So we see in Bareilly, in Agra. So all these people are jailed in these areas. So many of them, we don't see stone pelting very often now. That is also because so many of them are still in jail, in custody. So youngsters, of course, feel that there is some sense of stability, but on the other hand, they don't see any development on the ground that was promised to them. So they say that if we are we are being suppressed. We are right now under pressure. If we say anything, they'll put us in jail and they'll put PSA on us. So PSA is something that the youngsters really fear on the ground. On the other hand, as far as recruitment is concerned, as we have all seen that these spate of killings that happen in Kashmir every now and then, this is because not that, a Pakistani is coming in shooting with AK-47s. Now there's a new trend of hybrid terrorists. A student who's, say, studying in a university will come out, will be handed over a pistol, trained to how to do it online. He'll be given a person who has to be targeted. He'll do that killing and then go back to his life. I mean, he's not a categorized terrorist. The police doesn't have any information on that person. So that is something that even the police, the intelligence is dealing with. It's a menace there right now. But again, as Sir pointed out, that a lot of people on the ground have said that although infiltrations are less, recruitments are happening, but they really don't have any record of these people joining a particular terror outfit, or they are just being hired for targeted killings. These are random things. So one day he'll be working with Hizbul, the other day he'll be working with TRF. So that is what they are saying, that it's not that a person is really joining a terror outfit like the videos we used to see earlier कि गन के साथ वो ऐलान कर रहा है कि मैं ये join कर रहा हूँ. So वो नहीं हो रहा है अब. It's different. And as Sir pointed out, that they are also saying, the intelligence people on the ground, that Pakistan really is not interested in Kashmir right now. And that's why the lull. Because right now they're dealing with their own things. So once they shift back their attention to Kashmir, probably we'll see another spate of
Sir,
violence.
I'll end with a final question for you. I'm sure ever since you were a young officer in Kashmir, back when I was also young, and we shan't give any dates here, but this lull and ebb and flow has been a feature of things. We've always, I don't know how many times I have read newspaper headlines saying peace has come back to Kashmir. And I don't know how many times I have read newspaper headlines saying, oh, crisis has exploded again. Are we doomed to stick in this cycle, or are there some things that, especially now that the Home Minister has said we'll talk to Kashmiris, are there some sort of bullet point of 3 recommendations you might make that would be the important things going forward to deal with this?
So, Praveen, as you brought out, there's been an ebb and flow, and for us in the military who've seen this ebb and flow, we've always said, please don't equate absence of violence with normalcy. So whenever, for example, 2012, violence really came down very significantly. But then you need to follow it up with some political steps. You can't treat this as a security problem alone, that we've controlled violence and so things are fine. My suggestions would be, Praveen, honestly, we need an honest outreach to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And yes, I'm not talking only about people in Kashmir Valley. You need to heal this whole Jammu Kashmir divide. You need to give some healing touch to the Kashmiri Pandits. You need to give some healing touch to these young people who are joining terrorism, as has been pointed out. You need a political process to be restarted, Praveen, because then at least people will feel a little empowered that it is people whom we've selected who are here. And finally, again, the point was made. Promises of development must be fulfilled. I mean, as long as people are finding that there is economic development, as was pointed out, if shops are open, the locals are happy. But a larger economic development, when that comes, that I think would help, sort of bringing out, if you're looking at sort of long-term resolution of the problem.
So I'll end the show by telling our viewers a little story, which I think General Huda will also remember, about the Gujar Bakarwals. And the story which has always amazed me is that these communities are among the largest possessors of livestock in the country. The ratio of livestock to human population is among the highest in the country. But Jammu and Kashmir gets its milk and its meat very largely from outside the state because an industry never came up. And there was a fabulous couple who are no longer there in Gulmarg. They went away eventually because of the violence, who started making Dutch cheese in Gulmarg, buying milk from these Gujars. And I was always used to be surprised and a little ashamed that why does a couple have to come from Holland to do this? Why are there no Indian entrepreneurs doing this? And I hope someone in Delhi is thinking about some of these things. Thank you so much, General Saab, for making the time to join us. Thank you, Ananya.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
I'm sure our viewers will be really grateful. Just to let everyone know that Ananya must have a very large laundry bill from the sheer amount of kichad she has been tramping in. But we're grateful to journalists like you who bring us the reality from the ground.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this show. I'm Praveen Swami, and I'm National Security Editor of The Print. I hope to be seeing you again every week.